Okay, so Year 10 we're looking at some more statistics following on from what we did in the last lesson. So let's put an example for finding the mean from a frequency table, and then we'll look at some group data questions. Okay, so yesterday, or the last lesson, sorry, that we had, okay, so X represents the score, the scores in a maths test, the scores in a spelling test, number of pets you might have at home, and F stands for the frequency, and the frequency is just how many times it occurs, how many times the score occurs. Okay, so like for instance that 2 there means that there's 2 3s, and that 5 there technically means there's 5 4s, there's 2 5s. Okay, so that's what it actually means. So there's 2 3s, there's 5 4s, there's 2 5s, and there's 3 6s. And technically, if you wanted to, you could just write them all out, but we need to try to save time. So, for instance, if there's 2 scores of 3, that means if we're adding the scores up, we get a 6. So the easiest way to do it is 2 times 3 equals 6. And if there's 5 scores of 4, if we find the average, we're going to add them up. But otherwise, we just go 5 times 4 equals 20. Again, so 2 times 5 is 10, and 3 times 6 is 18. So when we looked at the frequency, there's 2 scores, there's 5 scores, there's 2 scores, there's 3 scores. So 2 plus 5 is 7. 7 plus 2 is 9. So that means there are 12 scores, which we can see over here. So 2, etc., etc. So there's 12 scores. And all the scores add up to these numbers. So if I add these numbers up, 26, 36, 46, 54. So that means that all of those numbers add up to 54. Okay? 54, not 64. That's a 5. Okay, so what we've got is the average, which is the mean, equals the sum of the scores, 54 over 12, and then just use your calculator to cancel that down. So 12 fours are 48. So the answer is, the average is 4.5. Okay, so there'll be some questions that look like that in the book. So copy that down, and when you're ready, come to the next slide. Okay, so we talked about group data. So rather than having a big frequency table with scores from 0 to 50 or whatever, we group them up so that it's a bit more manageable. So for instance, this might be the marks in a test out of 50, and there might be 3 kids who got between 0 and 9. We don't know what numbers they got, but the numbers were between 0 and 9. So we've lost some accuracy, which is what the price is. The price of paying for group data is you don't have the accuracy. And there's 5 students who got between 10 and 19, and they could have all got 10, or they all could have got 19. We don't know, and actually we don't care. Okay, so etc., etc. So how many kids was surveyed? 3 and 5 is 8, 10. So there's 20 people who did the maths test or whatever. Now, in the previous one, we were going frequency times score to get a number. Okay, so when we have group data, we don't know what number they got, but the average of those numbers is what we're going to say that they got. So the average is, if you add those two numbers, so 0 plus 9 over 2, and you put that in the calculator, you get 4.5. If you put 10 plus 19 over 2, you get 14.5. And you can see that the groups are going to go up in the same number, so they're going to go up in tens. So it's 24.5, 34.5, you don't have to put the equal sign, and 44.5. But if you don't believe me, just do your calculations. 20 plus 29 over 2, 30 plus 39 over 2, 40 plus 49 over 2. And then this is where you have to do a little bit of calculations here. So we've got 3 times 4.5, which you'll do on the calculator. 12, I'm just doing this in my head, sorry guys. 12, 13.5, and here we've got 5 times 14.5. Back of the head, so that's 72.5. 2 times 24.5 equals 49. Oh, that's 4 times 34.5 equals... Okay, so those two numbers multiply to give 138, and the last one is 6 times 44.5. 6 times 44.5, 267. And we add those numbers up, 267 plus 138 plus 49 plus 0.5 plus 13.5. So that adds up to 540. So the average, the mean, for the group will be 540 divided by 20. So we can say that equals 27. So even though we don't know what the actual numbers were, when we average it out, the average score is 27. Okay, so copy that down, and then in the textbook exercises you can now look at questions to do with means with some tables, either single tables or grouped tables. Okay, thanks for that. Bye.